Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and I've some bad news, unfortunately. I was going to upload these, and I'm still going to, but I have to redo them, because the versions that I did originally had this funny issue where they didn't record my voice, and I talk about it a little more in the Combat League episode that'll come up after this. But basically, my voice wasn't recorded, so it completely reset. It completely reset everything I did, so I have to go and basically do it again. So we're talking about Scorpion and Sub-Zero in the two episodes today, because these are the characters these are among the characters you're going to see the most in Combat League, and I figured, hey, I may as well cover the series mascots, right? So we're going to start with unique normals that, or I guess I should say standalone normals that do not really do anything, that don't go into combos or have unique properties or what have you, except for things like sweep and uppercut. Those are the things I'm not going to talk about. Or pokes, because I'll talk about their pokes in certain situations at a later date. And then, there we go. That should be it. Okay, Rising Cut. It starts off of a mid and hits overhead. You'll see a lot of Scorpions still do this. I'm not totally sure why, because it's actually hella punishable. It's -10 on block. So if I had Sub-Zero block this, and then reverse it with, let's say, slide, which is 11 frames. Okay, that was on reversal, so maybe not slide. What is his fastest reversal, do you suppose? Throw? Yeah, so if I do this, I can't. And again, and look at that, if he had the Crushing Blow throw loaded, for doing something that this unsafe, reversal throw punish, 310 damage. And he can punish with anything that's 10 frames or less, basically. So that's a jab, that's throws, that's a lot of things. And, as if that wasn't bad enough, it's flawless blockable, both times. So with really good timing on the flawless blocks, you can block these both and then punish with whatever you want. But you don't have to. If you even are a little bit late on your timing, you can... Where did it go? Block attack, there we go. You can get your flawless block launcher. Or your reversal, if you want to do a little more damage and just secure the kill. But you can just do the launcher and get a combo for flawless blocking Scorpions back too. Because the key is, it's 2 15-frame attacks, I believe. I believe that's the frame data for that. So it's flawless blockable and just punishable in general if the opponent whiffs this. So be mindful of that. Step Kick is an 11-frame high that covers pretty good range. You can punish certain slower attacks with this, but what I like to use it for is during combos. It's Scorpion's highest damaging extender, and it doesn't, and the key part here is that it doesn't require multiple hits to do the kind of damage it does. So for instance, if I were to do jab jab, that's 48.5. This is 70 raw. So if I do this, look at that, that's 226. Or, that's 247. I did more damage with the kick. So that's what I would use Step Kick for. I would use it as an extension during your teleport combos in order to get more damage. Flip Kick is a fun little beast. It's a relatively quick overhead of 22 frames that hops over low attacks and is active for 3 frames. On hit, he's plus 39, so he can get a dash, maybe 2 in, to potentially continue pressure. But that's not what this is going to be mainly used for. It's going to be used for this. beating breakaway because it's an armor break. Look at that damage. I didn't even have to try. That was off of a raw teleport too. So that's what you're going to be using flip kick for most often, is to try and catch breakaways. You can catch uppercut ones that are late, and I believe you can catch them if they're delayed. So not immediate, but fairly quick. Yeah. But I don't think you can actually cut... you definitely can't catch these if it's a delayed... Oh, you can if it's teleport. But I know for a fact you can't catch it if it's a fast. If it's an immediate... If it is a immediate teleport launch, or most of the time off of an uppercut. Yeah, almost certainly you're not going to. But if the opponent is even just a touch late on this, they're eating the damage. They're eating that damage. Next, we have Spear Stab. And preemptively, I'm just going to turn off Breakaway. There we go. The short hop attacks are Corkscrew Kick, which that doesn't look like a corkscrew to me, and Spear Stab. Spear Stab doesn't have the greatest range in the world, but it's active. But after the short hop, it's done in 9 frames, so it's a fairly quick overhead. The Corkscrew Kick's a bit slower, but it trades that off for having more range. Like from here, that's not going to hit, but from here, okay, there we go. So from here, that's not going to hit, but from here, the Corkscrew Kick's going to hit and knock down. So it's got that little extra range. But in Variation 2, you're always going to go for Spear Stab, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Rising... Oh, this is for knockdowns. So I'm going to have Sub-Zero sweep me. Rising Blade is your wake up and flawless block launcher. It's fairly quick, and it's a really good anti-air as well. So if the opponent tries to jump after knocking you back, guess what's going to happen? They're going to eat this, and then have to suffer from a Scorpion combo. Not the best ones in the world, but from one of these regardless. Spear Slice is a much better wake-up in terms of distance. Look, he footseed me with the sweep. I was still able to slash him with the Spear Slice, which is 9 frames and invincible. So this is your invincible wake-up. Now, his forward throw leaves the opponent about this far away, just far enough for a Rising Blade to catch, or forward 3, which we'll get into later. Back throw, side switches, as you'd expect, and gets a little more range. But the reason why they're here is because of crushing blows. If your opponent fails to throw tech, Scorpion gets 2 crushing blow throws. And the first one, back throw, is new as of the Aftermath update. And all it does is it gives him 310 damage. It gives him the raw crushing blow throw damage that he was actually lacking up until this point, because his toward throw, which is the only one he had at the time, did 190 raw, and then DOT while it was active, giving some, and it even still did slightly less damage afterwards, doing a grand total of 290 damage. So, what you would do is you would do this, and then buff your combos with it. See, 41%, and then there's more DOT to deal with, which is never a good time. However, it should be noted that you only get one of these per, so you need to choose carefully. Do you kill right away with the crushing blow throw? Or, earlier in the match, do you use this in order to get the damage over time that you want to augment your combo damage? Ultimately, that's up to you. Next, we have his strings, which there's quite a few, which there aren't actually that many of, at least at the beginning. But these are all of the universal strings. Torment is basically his universal punish. It knocks the opponent down, he's plus 29 on hit when he knocks them down and commits to the whole thing. But you're mainly using the first 1-1 because it's a 7-frame punish. It's a 7-frame punish to quickly do this, and let's say the opponent is -8, punish for a full combo. That's what you're going to be using that for. Now, here's the thing. If you're wondering what it's like on block, fortunately, it's actually not that bad. It's -6, so he's safe against everybody except for Raijin Raiden. And even then, that requires pinpoint timing. His standing jab is -2, and the rest of the string is -6. So he's basically safe every time he does this. But he can be challenged if the opponent decides to try and go into a poke war with him. Or at the very least, if you're fighting Raijin Raiden, which I will definitely have to talk about Raiden at some point, because he's an interesting character. I gotta turn block off. Next up is Haunted. For the life of me, I don't know... here's the thing, this actually catches people quite a bit still, so I know I was gonna say for the life of me, I don't know why people still use it, but that's because back one has really good range. Look at that range. It's actually a really nice mid. And the killing is an alternate ender. So this is raw damage, and this is safety. So what you would do is that you would do this, and then maybe end it here, keep the opponent relatively close, but they get up pretty quickly. The thing about Haunted in particular is that the whole thing is completely unsafe. Back one, -14. Maximum range, and at maximum range, it's -14. No matter what, this is -14, which means a move 14 frames or faster is going to punish this attack. Meaning that just trying to poke with this is a terrible idea, because eventually the opponent's going to get wise to it, block, and then full combo punish. So you might think, oh, I'm going to sneak in the low. Lol, -17. He's actually even slower. And of course, the opponent's most likely going to be blocking low because there's no overhead component to this string in any variation. And if he commits to Haunted, he's only marginally safer than the kick. He's -15, which means a 15-frame move is going to punish it. 15 frames is a quarter of a second. Most moves are a third or 2/3 of this speed. And some moves are even half this speed. So this is a ridiculously easy punish to get, even with that little bit of pushback that he gets. But that's where the killing comes in. If he does accidentally overcommit, he can use the killing to make himself -5 in exchange for a little bit of for losing some of that chip damage. So he can make himself safe with this, but he's -5, meaning he can't continue to loop this, and he can be challenged eventually if the Scorpion tries for something different, like that string, which we'll talk about later. Dark Soul is fun because every single part of this string is plus. Standing 2 is +3, standing 2-1 is +2, and then this is +7. Should also very quickly do... Oops, should turn that off. Yeah, so what is that, -14? Oh, here's the other thing too. On Flawless Block, the rest of the string doesn't come out. So, no matter what, if the opponent Flawless blocks you off of back one, you are in some serious trouble. Now, the thing about Dark Soul is that it always has the same frame data, but the ender is 30 frames. I can punish this without even having to try. Here, I'll show you. And I'll set it to this. Watch. See how easy that punish was? Look, I even slid, and now he's at this range where he doesn't usually want to be. I punished him with an immediate uppercut. I almost punched him with that kick, but it looks like it didn't work. It looks like kicks aren't going to be good punishes here, but a standing jab will be more than enough. See what I mean? Look at that. That was a full string punish, and look at all of that range that I got. So, you may be plus, but I can still challenge you. No problem. Or, at worst, generally speaking, if I try to go for a punish, and it's with my fastest string, I may miss, or I might even trade. Look at that, full combo punish because you tried to be +7. Never use this string in the neutral. Never use Dark Soul randomly in the neutral. You use this string to close out a combo once per round. That is the only really optimal time to use it. Don't throw this out willy-nilly. Use this to close your combos. Because in a combo that's 8 hits or greater, you get this crushing blow, which does damage over time. Here's the thing, though. You can never land the final hit if the opponent has been launched, no matter how hard you try. Look, they fall too fast, and even if I land both of these, woof, I miss. See what I mean? And even if it's an uppercut punish, the best general launcher Scorpion has, it's never going to happen. So you need to go for this part. You need to go for your spear restand in order to have a chance of landing this. Otherwise, you're basically hosed. Next is Falling Ashes. This comes off of a really ridiculously good normal in forward 3. This thing, start of the match range basically, is mid, 13 frames. If Sub-Zero blocks this, I'm -2. Finishing the string leaves me at -7, which is technically punishable. But because of all of the pushback I receive, I'm still safe. Now here's the crazy part. Let's suppose that you try to punish this. Let's say you try to punish Dark Soul. And then I space it out and do this instead. I get a crushing blow. On counter or punish, I get this crushing blow. And that means I get this follow-up. I can actually amplify it. For some reason, I'm not amplifying it. Why is it not amplifying? There it is. And now I missed the standing fall. What the hell? Oh, and one thing to keep in mind is that it's special cancelable. It's not like you get a full launch. I'm gonna get this. Come on. Come on. Nyam. Come on. Let me. Nyam. There we go. Look at this damage. Well, bam! Almost 400. Easy peasy lemon McSqueezy. And I can even reset the DOT with a forward throw if I had a clocked block and ready to rock already. And with one combo and 2 throws, you're basically dead. Yikes. But, like I said, you're technically unsafe, so don't do anything too crazy. But if the opponent decides to flawless block, what happens? Oh yeah, I forgot to... There's a double flawless gap block in there, but I don't think he can actually punish it with a late axe throw. So... Oh, he can. So if he gets a flawless block, you're toast. You're toast if he gets a flawless block on this. Next thing I should also note, actually, is... because I forgot to make mention of this before. I think I told you about this, but if not, the back 2 is -10, and flawless blockable both times, which I think I have. The flip kick is -5. Unsafe. Don't try to loop with this. And this kick is -3, but again, you're not going to throw this out in the neutral because it's a high, and you're just going to eat damage for it. Finally, for normal strings, we have Soulless. This one I don't see very often, and just like Haunted, every part of this is really unsafe. Everybody does this because of the low overhead shenanigans, and you know, me as a person who sucks at blocking overheads, I get caught by this a lot. But anybody halfway competent knows not to do that, because this is punishable by a 7-frame normal. Sub-Zero has the 6-frame down 1, so he can reset the neutral. He goes to the sword, he's -10. Punishable by most attacks. This kick, he's right in your face and -8. again, punishable, but not exactly to the same degree as this, but he's still punishable across the board. So be careful when throwing out Soulless. If you want to end a combo in a stagger, though, to throw your opponent off guard, you can do this, because you can kind of do this, but it's +2. This is +14. You'd want to just do this if you want to just do something and then try and challenge them if they try to punish. Because this is +2, and then the whole thing just knocked down. And they're not down for long, so bear that in mind. Oh, and also when it comes to flawless blocks, the whole thing except for the end can be flawless blocked. So, flawless block, boom. And that means he can challenge you with most of his reversals. I think this is the one where it doesn't really happen. So I'm just going to do late. Okay, so there we go. So if you miss this and land this, a delayed axe swipe is going to miss. However, a late one. But if it's delayed, it's going to catch you. So if you have decent timing, you can flawless block and then just launch and get a combo that way. So be extremely careful in regards to that. Now let's talk universal special moves. Scorpion really only has 2. He has the teleport and the spear, and that's it. You know spear, it's a long-range attack that pulls the opponent in and does pretty good damage on its own. But if you amplify it, of course, you stun the opponent. Originally, fun fact, before Mortal Kombat 11, this was not required to meter burn. This is just a native stun, like Sub-Zero's Ice Ball. However, this has a crushing blow, and I actually neglected to talk about it in the original version. So this is like the improved version. If connected from full screen, you get a little more damage, and you're +70. Normally, you are +30, so you increase your plus frames by more than double. And remember, that's 136 as opposed to 70 as well. And this scales pretty harshly. I wonder, and I can't remember for the life of me, but I think it scales less harshly to boot. No, it actually scales slightly harder. Yeah, it scales slightly harder, so you need to be wary of that. Look at that. Still, pretty decent damage. And that brings us to teleport. It's a 23 frame high that can also be done in the air in order to, teleport, get past projectiles, check the opponent, that kind of thing. And on Amplify, this launches. So the thing about this launching is that it doesn't scale nearly as hard as the spear would. So, see that 306? If I do... Yeah, let me see if I can get this right. Thing. I just want a comparison just to make sure. There. That's 333. That's 310 with just the kick. And I think we'll just end it that way. So... that was 344. I beat both versions of the combo with less damage, or because of a launch. That's because I launched instead of gone for the restand. Now let's talk about what this variation has to offer. And by the way, this is actually a competitive variation. The only thing is that I just have the custom variation on just because I think it looks nicer. I like to try to make things look pretty if I have built the custom variations already. But on a character like Sub-Zero where I haven't built custom variations, except for like one, I'm just not going to bother. Unless I really want to. I think I might for this one just to keep it different. But let's talk about what Variation 1, which is Reborn, or with this custom name Tsushima's Ghost, has to offer. Cancels. For defensive meter, I can cancel. Which means, if you're expecting a teleport to hit and try and punish, well, Scorpion's just at this range and now he can try and poke you out of an uppercut or what have you. He also has a faraway teleport, so that he can fake you out even further by going almost full screen and then setting up for this crushing blow. But you're not going to see the far version that often, by the way. That's just as a word of warning. Even though it puts you full screen, why would Scorpion ever want to be full screen? He wants to be in your face. The only time he wants to be full screen is for this one crushing blow, and that's it. Demon Slam. This is going to be fun. Demon Slamus is an air grab. Challenge an opponent in the air, get 10 damage. You can also use it to do stuff like this. Potentially. It's harder than it looks. Yeah, there we go. To get conversions. You catch an opponent jumping, get a little more damage. But this has a crushing blow. And that happens if the opponent, if this hits by itself. So no assistance from a jump free, close to the ground, or any of that. It has to land raw. You get 150 damage plus damage over time. So 250 damage. But that's not all. The crushing blow also comes out on Amplify. Look at that. Now it's 21 damage. It's now basically what the forward throw crushing blow wishes it was. Because it did 310 damage, including the DOT, whereas this only does 190 plus the DOT to get it down to 290. Now look, with both of those crushing blows, he's at 40% health. So, that's Demon Slam in a nutshell. You don't see it too often, but of course, look at that. That's lovely. I really like Demon Slam. It's just hard to land air grabs in this game. At least it is to me. We're gonna have Sub-Zero stop jumping now. Oh, I forget. I think it also catches hops too. Oh, and while I'm at it, I need to. I'm just gonna turn off easy crushing blows for now, just to make sure this works. Yes, and you can even do it off of a short hop as well. That is great. Wham! Bam! Thank you, ma'am. So you can catch short hops this way too, so that's something to keep in mind. Next we have a Death Stalker, which is variation 2, Searing Rage. This is the only variation that uses only one-slot moves, but they all complement each other really well. And in fact, to get the combo strings that you see here, you need Death Spin equipped anyway. So, in a sense, if they really wanted to consolidate, they could have just put all of the spear moves into one thing and make it 2-slot. Anyhow, let's start with the strings. Wrath. This you may actually want to do in neutral, because unlike this string, which is hella punishable, you can actually catch the opponent with this, get a little more damage, and on block, -3, completely safe, and the opponent is almost certainly not going to interrupt you. But just to be sure that I know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna do this again. So, yeah, no. You're giving up your plus frames, but nothing but the opponent is stuck, so I can't even flawless block it. I don't think there's a flawless blockable gap. Yeah, I'm basically hosed. So that is your safer option to throw out in the neutral. And if Sub-Zero is to flawless block, like I said, no flawless block gap in there whatsoever. So generally a really good move, this. And the nice thing too is it keeps the opponent relatively close and +20, so you can challenge this. Next we have hack and slash, and this is one of those things that makes Searing Rage even more salt-inducing than it really needs to be. Mid, overhead, low, off of one of the best mids that Scorpion has. And, as if that weren't enough, special cancelable. For really good damage, too. And here's the crazy thing. I tagged you from there. However, just remember this. Just remember this and you'll be just fine. The full string is minus 25. It is so unsafe that Sub-Zero can punish with literally anything he has in his arsenal. Even his Fatal Blow. And I'm going to show that to you right now. His Fatal Blow is called Chill Out. I'm going to set him to have 1% health. Here. I got it. Oh, I see. If you try a reversal too early, you're hosed. Look at that. It's 25 frames. Let me try that then. Let me try that, because I know when the reversal stuff is going to come in. It'll just automatically reversal. So. That was a reversal punish with a Fatal Blow. And this was 25 frames. Meaning that anything 25 frames or slower is going to connect. That includes this. If timed perfectly. And if he decides to go for it again, that can lead to a crushing blow situation with that particular attack. Now, as if that weren't enough, we have Death Spin next. And, oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, before I go too far, there's a flawless blockable gap in the middle. Now, the thing is that I'm reasonably sure that you can't actually interrupt this with a launcher, but I'm going to double check really fast just to be sure. If done immediately, you can. If done with decent timing, you won't. You got to do this. Your timing has to be on point to stop this. But if you see it coming, even a late chilled heal will completely bypass this. Because remember, he's invincible while it happens. So he basically spins around the spear and checks you with it. So you can use a flawless block invincible in order to beat that. And like I said, the other version of that string has flawless block gaps too. So you gotta be careful with that. Now we have Death Spin. Another move that a lot of people really don't like. This attack hits a lot and does pretty good damage. But the thing, and this makes it a really good ender. So, you do oppression blow combos, do this. The damage you can get is borderline stupid, and I'm actually gonna put Subby back to 1%, back to 100% health too. So the damage you can get is insane, but if he really wants to, he can also amplify for even more damage and good knockback. This can start the round and does pretty good damage. However, the thing to keep in mind is that this move on its own is minus on block. It's minus 20. And at close range, it's still minus 20. This is also very punishable attack. So you can actually make yourself slightly safer by canceling this into Spear, but generally anything involving the Spear in this variation, like if you just do Raw Spear by mistake, minus 33. So that's actually the most safe, the most unsafe thing. But that's minus 20, and it does have some pushback, but remember, this is minus 20 we're talking about here. Slide punishes this. Your fastest reaching mid's gonna punish this. Sub-Zero's back one is going to punish this. A lot of things are gonna punish it. And if he amplifies it, he could chip you out, but he's still minus 20. and has the same amount of range. So, sure, you ate 5% in chip, but you can easily crush that with just a single slide as Sub-Zero, as an example. Or as Jade with a Shadow Kick, or as Kotal with Forward 1. You get the idea. And on Flawless Block, I think it's actually worse. No, I think it's the same. But there's 2 Flawless Block gaps in there. I think. Might just be me. I think it's just the 1 Flawless Block gap, but regardless, it's Flawless Blockable. So, throw this out at the end of combos if you're a Scorpion player. And if you see a Scorpion player who just throws this out in the raw, or messes up the timing and does that instead of getting the actual timing down, you've got the prerogative to punish this guy. Then there's Burning Spear. This buffs all spear attacks by 33%. Short hop, 11.7%. Forward throw, 174.5 before there is the crushing blow. That does get rid of the buff, but still, it'll end up doing even more damage than the back throw now. Or at the very least so close that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Yeah, so close that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And Death Spin becomes even scarier. His strings become even scarier. Both of them. This ends up doing more damage. Basically, anytime he uses the spear, it does 33% more damage for a really long time. And if he amplifies, and this hits, he's +6, meaning that he resets the neutral. Oh yeah. Meaning he resets the neutral, and he can challenge you if you do anything. And remember, his teleport uses the spear too, so you get I can break 50% without a fatal blow with this character. Or almost do it anyway. Look at that, 492 damage. And of course, if I see the opponent is going to have breakaway pretty soon, I can just do this, and do 450 damage. Or I could just do this. Look at how easy that was for 26%. Look at that, 420 damage. Nice. But here's the thing. This is also unsafe. If he just does it raw, and the opponent is blocking, 16 frames with a little bit of recovery. It's 48 frames. So you got a long time to punish this. If you see, the fire up starts at 16, but you still have 32 frames to punish this if he just does it raw. And remember, he's minus if he does this. He's minus 17. So doing this is just not going to save him. Look, he's minus 25 when he does that. Or minus 33 if he does it off of the sword. Or minus 35 if he does it off of this. Point is if he thinks that he can be safe by doing this, or he missed an amplify, you're game to punish. And even if he does amplify, he's minus 15. Minus 15 is very punishable, and note the minimal pushback if you block this. This is just begging for a punish. So keep that in mind, and you should be just fine. Now let's go on to Variation 3, which is known as Burning Spectre, but I have it as the Angel of Death. Ooh. This is death by 1,000 cuts personified, this variation. So I'm going to show you how and why, but we're going to start off with Sin Blade, which can only be done off of a neutral jump. But this is an MKX style neutral jump punch with really good range. Swipe down, launch the opponent. And try this. Yeah, you can totally get stuff off of this, so... But the problem is that you don't get quite as much as you would expect. If you want that crushing blow, for instance, you're only going to get 250 damage, and then the meager DOT. So you're not going to see Sin Blade that often unless it's to try and catch jump-ins. The real cream of the crop here is Misery Blade. This stance lets lets Scorpion begin drawing his blade, and eventually he'll put it back. He can he can cancel at any time by pressing the square button at the same time. But he only gets but it costs defensive meter. So you need to be careful. And the cancel is only 9 frames, so you can theoretically make your stuff safe. So, there. He's actually +1. This attack that was -17 is now +1 during this whole thing. This, which is -2, actually becomes -11. So, you need to be wary of what you're canceling from. You can't cancel from everything and expect to be safe. Like, that is just barely unsafe if I did that. However, this is +1. This is -12. This is -4 from +2. So the idea is that really your best safe option is that if you do this and you see that it's blocked, just quickly cancel into that and you'll be safe. Next we have 3 attack options out of this. We have Suka Poke, which is +11 on hit, but on block is -6. It is basically safe. And if the opponent were to flawless this, it's still -6. Oh, and it's not special cancelable at all either, that string. So that's really good to know. Let's see here. So you would use this to keep yourself relatively safe and interrupt anybody trying to punish stuff if you don't have the meter. Because look at that, that's -4 if it doesn't connect. And if it does connect, it's +11. So it's really nice. Then you have Hamon Sweep. This attack is a low that does just under a normal sweep's damage, but has more range as he's advancing towards the opponent, and it knocks him down for +24. If it goes for Hate Strike, it's an overhead that does 8 damage and is +25. Keep in mind, however, that both of these options are unsafe. -17 and -16, respectively. On Flawless, this is the same frame data, -17 and -16, but remember, he can punish this way. Now, here is the tricky thing. I'm going to hit Sub-Zero 5 times with the amplified versions of these attacks, and I want you to guess which one is going to land before it lands. Ready? Set, go! Were you able to guess right? I'm willing to bet that you were only able to guess right 1 out of those 5 times, maybe twice, because 2 Scorpions appear. And yes, there is a stopover with the low version. But because there's also a bit of a stop off here, you need to read the animations carefully, and theoretically be just fine. But it's going to be really hard when the Scorpion decides to throw in random shit, like this low, which remember means low, overhead, guess for your life in some cases. Overhead. Gonna be an overhead? Lol, no. I'm gonna be a low. Gonna be an overhead? Low. Gonna be an overhead? Who the fuck knows at this point? That is the beauty of Burning Spectre. However, you almost never see this because this actually requires the Scorpion to think. And that's not meant to be a slur. With most of the other variations of Scorpion, you don't need to think as much. You just need to figure, okay, do I have a hit confirm? Sick, going for damage. Here, you have to go, okay, what's my safest option out of the stance? Should I keep poking just to be safe? Should I try to test the opponent with a low, see if they can punish that? Or do I just keep with the pokes just to be safe? And then when you have meter, you could go in and say, fuck you. But you need to think a little more with this variation, and it's death by 1,000 cuts. You're not going to get a lot of big, flashy combos with this. You're going to get, instead, resets and combo situations and things that are going to leave the opponent in awkward situations. That is going to have to do it for Scorpion for now. There is one more thing I need to... Oh, I can just reset those off the hop. Sweet. There is one more thing I do need to talk about, and that is his super move. Get over here. This attack is a Fatal Blow super, is a Fatal Blow, which means you need at least 30% health, and it's pretty good. The thing is that it's 21 frames, which means pretty slow. So you're not going to throw this out willy-nilly. And indeed, there's actually a caveat here. A lot of people say Fatal Blows are ridiculous, and they can be. The thing is that minus 23, with a lot of pushback, sure, but Sub-Zero can punish this with his slide all day. Sub-Zero could potentially punish this. Sub-Zero could maybe not exactly punish it with his Fatal Blow, but be 2 frames off. There's a chance he could hit you with that. And even if he doesn't, he pushes you back. So it kind of resets the neutral and everybody's on Fatal Blow cooldown. If the Sub-Zero is cornered, I need to back him up a little bit. He's actually slightly closer and can punish with a back 1 to get a full combo punish. So what you're going to be doing most of the time is, if you are a Scorpion main, please, please, please punish the opponent with this. Or, correction, don't punish the opponent with this, because you're probably not going to. End your combos with this. End your big, flashy, searing rage combos with this super move. Because, trust me, you're going to get really nice damage. And suppose that you're not that great at getting this conversion. It's hard for me to get a lot of the time myself, so you can just do this. Punish that, get 52%. I saw that because of the reset. And of course, if the opponent thinks to break away, well, that just earned yourself a really good time. Because, watch this. Punish the opponent on breakaway with this in a combo, you're gonna get 60% damage. That's without me pushing any buttons. If I pushed buttons, it would end up being even more. 61%, and I didn't even get all perfect. I got a little bit of extra damage out of that. And what's not to like about getting basically 60% off of a Fatal Blow combo to basically turn the opponent into mush? Don't forget to be awesome, and next time we're going to be looking at Sub-Zero. We'll see you there.